Creative Katie, Karen Burchill here. Welcome to my channel and another art journal tutorial. Here's a sneak peek of the finished page. I absolutely love it. I hope you will too. So what I'm starting out with today are a gel print and some deli paper where I've pulled off the paint through the stencil while creating gel prints. This gel print uses the stencil quatrefoil and the other one uses screen view. And I'll put a link to where you can get those in the description box below. So I love how when you pull or stencil on deli paper, the pattern can be colored, but the rest is white, and that makes for perfect collage paper. While I've got you, please go to Instagram and follow me at Creative Katie. You'll often see what I'm up to well before the videos come out. So I'm arranging those collage papers on here, and I like to have papers of different weights. So the deli paper or tissue paper is nice. Then I've got the gel print on copy paper. So I'm gluing this down with my fluid matte medium, and I realize right there the paint is actually coming off the deli paper, and I think that's because I put it on the shiny side of the deli paper. I don't really pay attention. So what I did on the rest of them is I flipped them over so that the paint is down. And because the deli paper goes translucent, you still get all the vivid color. So I'm putting down this patterning. Now, the reason I'm starting with collage is I'm starting my color story. I want to work with these colors, and this really breaks the blank page. It gets me thinking about where I want to go. It's giving me ideas for patterning, whatever stencils happen to be in those gel prints or collage papers, scrapbook papers, whatever you're using. Because at this point in time, I don't have an idea of where this is going. Sometimes I do, many times I don't. I'm just going to throw around color. Now here I've added some teal papers that are just straight up teal. So we have three different weights of collage papers. We have the very light and airy one that's on the deli paper. We have the very patterned one, and we have the straight color one. And they all have a purpose, and they all work really well as a background. Now my goal here is to get most of the background colored by using these collage papers. Sometimes you can cover this with a lot of paint. You're going to see a lot of this at the end. And I'm just playing with it. I'm going, where does this look good? And I'm trying not to overthink. I'm trying to put it down. So if you've got little bits, this is a great thing. Throw it down and have a background all ready to go. So I have many leftovers, so those are going back into the stash. So now I know I want to do a collage butterfly, and I'd cut out some pieces in that deep violet color, but I wasn't getting enough contrast. There didn't seem to be enough similarity, something reading between the background and the focal image. So I grabbed a couple different pages of gel from gel prints, and I'm cutting out the butterfly wings. This is just a free printable, and I'm just using the shape of the wings as a guide. You could totally freehand that if you want, but if you lack confidence or unsure, this is how you can do it. And I'm liking the contrast here. The bottom part is blue, and that's reading really well with the blue that's in the background, and the deep violet color is adding a nice contrast, and that's actually in that gel print that was on the deli paper. So I'm taking a makeup sponge and I'm edging this with black paint, getting rid of the white. It's kind of an easy way to edge shade the outside of the butterfly without working too hard. Now I had that little piece and it just so happened that it looked like the body. That wasn't the plan, but I thought I'm going to use it. I'm just giving it a coat of black paint while I have that all out. Now the reason I'm stopping here and figuring out my focal image is I may need or want to add some things to the background now. And knowing what my focal image is going to help me make better decisions so that everything works cohesively. So I'm playing here with the orientation because, again, that may matter where I decide to add anything to the background. So I'm thinking I need to figure out my quote. So I go in my quote binder. These are all quotes that you can buy from me from in my various sentiment packs. And I'm liking that one. I love when a detour turns out to be a shortcut. And this is from sentiment pack number 3. And the ones that are in sentiment pack 1, 2, and 3, they are larger fonts. They're bolder. So they're perfect for a 7 by 10 art journal page like what I'm using, or even an 11 by 14. They're larger sizes. So I took the stencil screen view. Remember that was on the deli paper at the beginning, and I put modeling paste through the stencil. And now I'm adding some of that deep violet that's on that butterfly into the background. There was a little bit there. I'm just adding a little bit more. And I'm using the smaller version of the same stencil that was in the deli paper. So I'm not adding a different element. I'm adding a variety of the same element that's already in there. And the bottom of the butterfly, that blue part, was made using cardboard on the gel plate. I wanted to add some black, so I grabbed this Harlequin stamp, and I'm just using black acrylic paint or ink. I'm not even sure what I'm using, archival ink. And I'm pressing really hard in there. And that's just adding that little bit of black in there that's going to go really well with the sentiment, the black that's in the sentiment, and just kind of grunges it up. Now, where I'm going to glue the butterfly, there was a lot of the modeling paste. Poor planning on my part. Now, I could have glued it down and it would have been okay. But you can, if you're careful, scrape off the modeling paste. You got to be very careful not to go too deep, and it has to be pretty dry, but you can successfully scrape it off using a palette knife. So I'm just finalizing, fine tuning the orientation, the placement of my sentiment, the placement of my butterfly. Getting rid of a little bit more of that modeling paste. Now, some modeling paste might come off easier than others, so I suggest you try it on a scrap paper first before doing it on a page, just in case yours doesn't come off as easily as mine. A little more of that out. I'm gluing this down with Fluid Matte Medium. This is a Liquitex Basics brand. The Basics is a little bit cheaper than the Professional. I don't find any difference for how I'm using it here as an adhesive. So this page is a great way to use things in your stash. Get out those gel prints, get out that scrapbook paper, get out the master boards, whatever, and you can use it. We use collage papers as the first layer. We're using it for the focal image as well. Now I'm just using my angle brush and the floating acrylic technique, lazy man's version here, and just edging it with black. And again, I've got black in the sentiment. I've got a little black that I did stamping, and that's just tying everything together. It's this finishing that's going to make everything pop. And now I'm going to use the floating acrylic technique to shade around the butterfly as well. And that's going to make the butterfly, hopefully you can see how that one wing is standing out more than the other deep violet wing right now. Now, if you don't want to do the floating acrylic technique, don't feel confident in doing that yet, you can use a charcoal pencil. You can use a Stabilo. Neither of those are permanent. For an art journal page, I wouldn't worry about it. But if you are putting it on a canvas and you want it to be permanent, you're going to have to spray it with a fixative. So this is my Secura glaze pen, black, and I love this. Now, when you're going over top of modeling paste, it goes really smooth, but make sure that the modeling paste in the page is dry before you do any fine printing. Fine line work. And I chose not to use the floating acrylic technique around these letters because they're fairly close together. So I wanted a more streamlined look. And I'm splattering with black paint. I take my black acrylic paint and I mix water in it and I keep it in these little dollar store containers because I do a lot of splattering and I don't need to mix it every single time. It does dry a little bit over time and you just have to spritz it with a little bit more water and give it a stir. Taking off the tape that keeps all the gunk from getting in the coils, and there is my finished page. I love the teal and the deep violet with the navy. Yummy. I love this page. Close-ups of the finished page are coming soon. Give me a thumbs up. Give me a comment. Follow me on Instagram and keep creating.